Good evening, Professor. Thank you for taking the time to review my contemporary business leader presentation assignment. Here's a little bit of what to expect tonight. We're going to be going over the leader description, her greatest achievement, some of her challenges, her power bases, her mission, vision, strategy, leadership theory. We're going to compare her to another leader, leadership lessons, and a little bit of reflection on what I've learned. Leadership description. I had the privilege of interviewing my wife, Katrina Neese, who is currently a flight chief of operations in the U.S. Air Force at the 41st Electronic Combat Squadron here at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona. I chose her not only because of her 18 years of military experience, but because I deeply admire the way that she uses integrity, empathy, and other tools to get measurable results. Today, I'm going to walk through, again, her background, achievements, some of her lessons. We're going to do a comparison and then surmise with some of the lessons that I've learned. Greatest achievement. During the interview, she told me about a time where her greatest achievement was actually developing at-risk airmen. She said that these airmen had previously been written off by other leaders. Through servant leadership, listening, empathy, and coaching, she created a supportive environment that rebuilt their confidence. The results were incredible. These individuals became not only the airmen in their career field, these individuals became the only airmen in their career field to promote on the entire base that year. And at the location she was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that's a pretty substantial base. And for them to be the only ones in the career field to promote is a pretty big deal. This stands out because it shows the power of investing in people. She didn't just change them in their careers, she shifted the culture of the unit by proving that every airman has potential when given the right support. She used the behaviors of listening, empathy, commitment to growth, and stewardship to cultivate these results. One of her challenges. She faced one of her toughest challenges when she was suddenly tasked to lead 40 people in a foreign country with no time to prepare. In simple terms, in 2023, she was tasked with a deployment of having to take 40 people overseas to meet a contingency or a combat support request. Instead of panicking, she focused on structure, communication, and empathy. She built trust quickly and led by example, ensuring morale stayed high and the mission was completed safely. The outcome? Zero safety incidents, full readiness, and a team that pulled together under pressure. That wasn't management. That was leadership. It showed stewardship and that values mattered most when conditions are toughest. Now, she took a step further as well. She didn't just check on the people that were deploying. She actually checked on their families. She called every spouse that she could get in contact with, significant other and family members, to ensure they had the support and resources they needed while their airman was deployed. Now, if that's not servant leadership and taking a step above, I don't know what is. Now, her power bases. When making difficult decisions, Katrina has relied on expert power, drawn from her credibility in aviation and personnel management. She also leaned on her referent power, creating trust and fairness to earn buy-in. She used reward power, offering opportunities for growth and recognition. What she avoided was coercive power because she believes it only creates fear and short-term compliance. By choosing influence over authority, she built commitment, and that made her team stronger and more resilient. I think that I've also learned throughout my career, not just speaking with her in her interview and sharing her experiences, that when you can create trust and loyalty through your leadership and through your behaviors, you don't even have to ask people to do anything. They feel a draw, they feel a responsibility to you to get things done and to do them well. Mission, vision, strategy, and entrepreneurial mindset. The Air Force's mission is centered on readiness, reliability, and resilience. Katrina lived this mission not just by executing orders, but by innovation. She redesigned an entire process within the aviation resource management career field. She was able to cut an entire 30% off redundant tasks. This gave her airmen more time to train and focus on the mission. This is the entrepreneurial mindset in action, recognizing inefficiencies, taking calculated risks, and creating solutions that multiply effectiveness. It's proof that innovation is just as critical in uniform as in business. Now, to go give a little bit of more background information, she worked on this as an individual for over a year. And then finally, even in the face of adversity and people saying, no, it couldn't happen, or no, it's too much to undertake, it was finally adopted in one of the largest major commands in the Air Force, the Air Education and Training Command. Now, there have been talks of it being implemented Air Force wide, but there are some pushbacks as well. However, I do believe that with her commitment and her resiliency, eventually it will be adopted in the entire industry. Leadership theory. Katrina's leadership reflects a blend of servant and transformational leadership. She serves first, protecting and developing her people, while also inspiring them with vision and stretching them to grow. She once told me, serve first, then stretch. I think that that captures her philosophy perfectly. It's what makes her leadership sustainable and effective. Leadership comparison. To compare her style, I looked at Kishana Palmer, a well-known servant leader in the nonprofit sector. Both Katrina and Palmer put people first and lead with empathy. The difference in context is Katrina applies servant leadership in the high tempo, mission critical operations, while Palmer focuses on inclusivity and psychological safety in nonprofit spaces. Each has strengths, but Katrina's approach highlights how servant leadership can thrive even in environments that demand precision, speed, and resilience. Leadership lessons. From her career, Katrina has drawn 3 lessons that she likes to teach everyone. People come first. When you invest in people, the mission succeeds. Influence outlasts authority. Trust and credibility carry farther than rank. Values matter most under pressure. Your team watches you closely when things get hard. Now, I think that this one resonates especially with military leaders. Now, I'm not going to take anything away from the business industry or any other industry. However, I do know that in the military, those leaders are faced with fast-paced, dynamic, ever-changing environments and circumstances. They're not often given time to formulate well thought out answers. They either have to have the experience and be able to overcome, or they have to make a call and then stick with it, whether it ends up being the right call or the wrong one. And they have to be humble enough and responsible enough to take the consequences, whether they be positive or negative. Now, during the interview, she did admit to one thing. She said that sometimes she invested too much in individuals at the expense of the broader team, meaning that those at-risk airmen, she tried to, well, as she puts it, you can't save them all, right? She has put a lot of effort into trying to save a lot of individuals. Now, sometimes she loses sight of other things and either programs or other people that are succeeding or are striving can suffer because she's trying to help other people that aren't necessarily less than, but let's see, don't aren't at the level that they want to be at. And she's continually trying to get them there. Now, again, going back to that, sometimes she has focused too much on that, not enough on the other people. So she says that there is something to consider, and that's that balance is critical for leaders. Reflection. I chose Katrina not just because she's my wife, but because I've firsthand seen how she embodies servant and transformational leadership. These have been in real world, high stakes environments. And what I've learned is that leadership is stewardship. It's about protecting and developing people while achieving results. This project reminded me that authority may get compliance, but only trust builds commitment. If there's one takeaway from for the next generation of leaders, it's this: focus on your people, and the mission will take care of itself. And I believe that that is a truth that isn't just military, but across any industry. So once again, Professor, thank you for taking the time to review my submission. If you have any questions, please let me know. Have a good night.